What is going on, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome to the Tuffy Talk live show. We are excited to get back here rolling as we unfortunately were not able to live stream last week. I had some technical difficulties we could just not get past. So we just decided, you know what, we're just going to have an awesome show here today. So we got myself, Lane Smith, making abs, Michael Tracy joining us here already. Carson and Greg Legg will be joining us here momentarily. So we will have almost the entire Tuffy Talk squad here together finally on one show once again. But with that being said, if you've been with us before, you know the drill. But if you haven't been with us before, any questions, comments, thoughts, questions that you have, put them in the chat and we'll get to them here today. But with that being said, I want to start off here real quick. Michael, how's it feeling right now in, just the most exciting part of the year when it comes to sports? There's just so much going on right now, man. I mean, there's baseball and NASCAR and golf,
Nice. Yeah. It's like we could, have a 3-hour live stream tonight if we wanted to, right?
That's right. Yeah. No, we could talk about all the in-state basketball players that got drafted. Ooh, wait. See, I know, too soon. I know. But hey, listen, that it's one of the biggest things I wanted to get to though, and make. I want to get your thoughts, man. Obviously, Will Wade, definitely made it very clear his expectations for the opener, where he wants every single seat in the 17,000s, seat stadium in the Lenovo Center to be filled for the opener, which was announced that it would be hosting North Carolina Central, which I think is. I mean, for me, I'm sitting here like, hey, I love it. I think, Lavelle Moten, going against in-state Wolfpack is going to pull on a lot of heartstrings for in-state Wolfpack for sure. But I also want to ask you as well so thoughts on let's start off with that. Thoughts on North Carolina Central matchup.
I think it's going to be pretty fun for the state of North Carolina. I don't know exactly how good Central is going to be this upcoming season. But that's a matchup I think a lot of fans in the state, or at least in the Triangle area, Greater Triangle area, have been clamoring for a while now. Mm-hmm. And to see that kind of be your first game coming out, I think that kind of set the tone, like kind of get the people what they want, but it's going to be a good matchup. Lavelle Moten's a great coach for them. And, I think that'll be a good starting point. Why not start with Central kind of thing? I think that'll be good for the resume. And, I'm excited about it. I think it'll be a fun first game. So,
yep. Yeah. No, and Hunter Smith saying Coach Moten is legit. And Michael, did you ever think there was a world where Coach Moten could be running the in-state Wolfpack?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a world. That's always kind of a dark horse name. The last couple times job has come open.
Sure.
I mean, I think there's a lot of obstacles in the way of that happening, but I don't think it's too far out of reality that at one point he could have been our coach.
Yeah, sure. Carson, Greg, what's going on, fellas?
Going good. Exciting to talk NC State sports.
Yeah, man, you sounded so formal there, Carson. Greg, what you got? What you got, bro? As you're muted.
Now it's on informal, Greg. Do informal.
Yeah.
All right. I think I'm good.
Oh.
Very informal.
That's informal.
Did it?
Right there.
No,
Yeah.
one thing I would say, I'm going to look in Bart Torvik real quick because they can do some way too early projections for the season. They've got Central all the way down at like 350th out of 300 and
That's pretty low.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty low.
Right. So it's not going to be a resume building game, but it's going to be a first game opening on opponent. I think you'll see a lot of fans want to come out for that. Because I know he said he wants to pack the Lenovo Center. That's a good game to bring the fans in, Mike, right? If you want to see the team, whole new starting five, whole new coach, new era. Doing it with a game like this, I think helps incentivize fans to come if they weren't already. So,
yeah. Well, and Carson, I'll bring you in perfectly on this, man, is one topic that has been at the lips of a lot of NC State fans for the last few years is, can we please put men's basketball back in Reynolds Coliseum? Like, can we please get rid of the Lenovo Center in terms of from NC State men's basketball perspective and go to Reynolds Coliseum? But I think that a lot of us here, probably all of us, would agree that I think about the NC State versus UNC basketball game. I think it was 2013, where the roof, some of the bolts on the roof got dislodged from how loud it was. So do you hope that with this season that all those comments, questions of should NC State men's basketball move to Reynolds Coliseum? Hopefully this season, should all those comments be put to the side?
Well, my freshman year, when I was in the student section, that was the Jarkel and Turquavion year.
Ooh.
And
the UNC game.
No, there were three.
Multiple.
The Duke game, the UNC game, and the Miami game. The Miami game was really loud.
Was that the same year that Turquavion was it? You said was that the same year? No, I'm thinking of Darion Sebron's game against Nebraska. I was wondering if that's the same year he had a Nebraska game, but no, that's a different year. So
keep going.
but yeah, like we've seen that place can get rocking if you put the team in the right position to win and bring fans in. I mean, we've seen what the Canes have done over the past half decade. Now, granted, the Canes have a much bigger fan base overall in the Carolinas. But still, State's proven that they can do that as well.
Yeah. Greg, do we finally got you, brother?
I think so.
There you go.
There we go. A little bit quiet, but it sounds quality level.
Is that better?
Am I the only one? Am I the one?
You're like at 60%, Greg. 70%.
I just need you to scream, Greg. It's a pleasure to be on. Yeah.
It's been one of those days.
Okay.
That's a little better. That's
coming through a little bit better. But so Greg, I know you usually love to definitely pepper in a good bit of men's basketball games this year. Do you feel like that the excitement level of being back, in the Lenovo Center watching men's basketball is finally going to return, that juice that is going to finally come back?
I definitely think there's a chance for it. I don't know if it's going to happen day one, right? I think that we are a fan base that likes to get hyped up, and then when things don't go our way, we don't show up sometimes. Minus football. Football always shows up. I think that's just because you only get a couple of those a year. But I think it's going to take some time for folks to really buy in. I think there's a lot of preseason hype, but that doesn't mean it's going to translate. That's a lot of seats to sell for for North Carolina Central. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Like on a what is November 3rd? I think it's a Monday.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
Monday night.
Yep.
I mean, look, you guys said it earlier. You know, people didn't show up for the banner. I know it's a little bit different. I think people were just
Yes.
tired of that era. And yeah, I will be there on that Monday night, but I'm not your average fan. So
Mhm.
Now, I don't even normally go on like weeknights, but I'm going to go to that game. I'm going to try to make to go because he asked the fans to be there, and I want to see the new team. So
1000%.
Absolutely. And Preacher Man helping us saying that maybe he's itching to talk baseball. That's why I was a little quiet. So I get it, Greg. I
Fair.
get it.
It's
Got
fair.
to save the vocal cords. I completely understand. And what's up, Justin? NC State baseball mega fan. Appreciate you joining in, brother. So yeah, no, again, just excited now. I mean, the one big piece I wanted to discuss, because obviously NC State men's basketball has been the front premier topic of conversation around all of NC State athletics over the last couple months. So, definitely, obviously, want to start talking football here. Is again, I mean, funny enough, we're, what, 2 months,
59 days.
what, 59 days, 59 days away. I love it. Who's counting? Yeah, who's counting? From football, so definitely want to talk about that. Got a little bit talk here for baseball as well, which I know Greg is clamoring his hands together.
As Preacher Man said, itching.
Yes, exactly. Itching. But making, I know.
You got any more of that baseball?
I got any more of that baseball? There's been one big addition that happened actually about almost 2 weeks ago that we just have not been able to talk about here on the live show. And that was the announcement that Mbaya was decommitting from NC State, ended up committing to Kansas. And then Scottie Ebube from Wyoming, center for Wyoming, committing to NC State, the 6'10", 275-pound center, primarily probably to back up Van Allen Lubin. So, make initial thoughts on the move.
I think I'll start with the positive here. I think Ebube is a nice addition. I don't obviously, like you've mentioned, backing up Van Allen Lubin. He's going to play a role that is going to be more of a depth piece. But his stats, when he was playing at Wyoming, which there's a relationship there with Patrick Stacy, who's the assistant GM at State now. He's a guy, the numbers don't jump out at you from like a points rebound standpoint. He had 5 points, 2.7 rebounds a game. He had less than half an assist a game. But that's on, I think he only played like 10, 15 minutes a game. The number
10 minutes.
Yep.
10 minutes. So he was, on a 40-minute per basis, he's scoring 20 points a game, right? He's not that projects out pretty well. He's a pretty efficient player for them in the time he was given. And so he's probably going to play a similar role. He might play, I don't know if he's expected to play a little bit more, but in the time where Lubin is needing to take a rest, you put Ebube in, and he's been shown to be pretty effective when he's on the floor. Like I know his field goal percentage, most of them are dunks. But he's really effective around the rim, 67.6% for his season at Wyoming last year. I really like what the guy has to offer. Now, he's really not – he sucks at free throw shooting, I think. That's one area he's going to get better at. And he fouls a lot.
Code it for us.
Right. No, I mean, like he was 35.9% last year, and then he was 38.6. He's literally gotten worse every year he's playing basketball. So – that's not good. But he is he's a really effective around the rim when he gets a chance to score. And that's like that. He's going to have to figure out a way to stay on the court. But I feel like those are kind of redundant talking points right there. I feel like you've heard a lot of people say those kind of things. I don't know. I think he's a guy who can bring a lot of energy because he seems to be a guy who can really play transition basketball well. I mentioned he dunks a lot. I think I saw in an interview that he had. He likes the idea of offensive rebounding, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I think it's a really good piece. Now, I think on the flip side, losing Mbaya also that stinks. I hate that. Wish it could have worked out well. I think the NIL world we live in now, the dynamics there are just crazy, and it sounded like it was a back and forth thing. He will still play in Raleigh on December 13th, which will be pretty interesting to see that matchup now.
Very interesting.
And I think kind of like you see in football, I know there's the guys who like Noah Rogers who committed to Ohio State and then transferred to NC State, or Hollywood Smothers who went to Oklahoma, transferred back. Like, who's to say Holland Baya next season couldn't be on State's campus? You're kind of hoping he doesn't blow up too much this season, because next year you never know. But I'm just going to focus on this year, and it's a loss for State. I think the ceiling is slightly bumped down a little bit because I think Mbaya had some really nice potential there. Sure. But getting Ebube, man, as a depth piece with him and Scottie Wilkins, Mikey Wilkins is nice. So we'll see what happens with the roster and getting all that finalized. I think the big deal is getting all of these guys enrolled, and Ebube is enrolled. I think there's just a lot of time in between that we're going to have to build up to, and it'll be exciting to see this team, like you said, on November 3rd when they play against North Carolina Central.
Yeah. So Michael, I mean, I want to kind of ask, obviously as we're, wrapping up, getting ready, all these guys are getting on campus, things like that. What's if you're looking at this team and you had one kind of concern about this team, what would you say? Lack of shooting, or
no? I think you've got enough. I think it's kind of your second playmaker, because obviously you have Darren Williams kind of obviously would be slotted in to be number one guy, but it's kind of like who's going to step up to be that number two. And I guess that's kind of, it's a champagne problems kind of thing, because there's plenty of options. Sure. You just don't have really a proven option. You got Alan Breed coming in, but he hasn't played. From McNeese, he didn't play last year. And then you've got McNeil, who showed flashes last year, but you don't know with a new coach how he's going to fit in. And then Abel being the 5-star freshman, he looks promising as well, but again, still true freshman. So I think it's going to be kind of who's that number two playmaker behind Darren Williams.
Yeah, let us know in the chat too, y'all. What if y'all what y'all's feelings are on this roster. But Carson, do you think that Coach Wade and Slater and all them made the right choice, sticking to their guns when it came to Mbaya? Because obviously this definitely became more of a bidding war than we, were expecting.
Yeah. I mean, you can only, the thing with NIL is that money is still limited, even if it is raised. And so you have to manage that effectively.
Yeah. So, and Greg, Carson kind of mentioned something, one of the biggest things now this year is revenue sharing, with colleges and sports. And, obviously it's tough because I think from a fan perspective, you hear this, you hear about this thing called revenue sharing, but, you don't really have a lot of insight necessarily in terms of monetary stats, in terms of how much that is, how much, what's the split is, who's making the decisions on the split, etc., things like that, So, I mean, what are your kind of thoughts on this new revenue sharing world now that we live in?
Yeah, State's been one of those programs that really hasn't been forthcoming with the information. Boo's kind of holding it close to the vest. And I mean, maybe, there's some strategy behind that. Maybe you don't want fans up in arms going, why are we giving this much money to this sport and not to that sport? Yep. Another thing is that could play into player agents' hands. They're like, well, you're spending 20% on this team, so you've got the money to give my guy whatever he's looking for. So I think there's some gamesmanship, if you will, in that. But the one thing that it's going to do is going to lock these coaches into a budget. You can't just go out and spend $5 million for one guy or girl and then think that you're going to be able to have more money for other people. So you're going to have to be real smart in the way you distribute money. Do you put that money into players that you already have on your roster to kind of re-recruit them? Do you do you over recruit folks? And, it's just going to be interesting to see how it all plays out with each of the different sports and what their thought process is going to be about on that. Because when we talk about baseball, it'll come down to scholarships as well. So, there's lots of things to play into those numbers.
And do we know now that it's coming from, obviously NIL deals will still mostly be private, but if the revenue sharing deals, like, is that going to be right? I know we're not right now, we haven't voluntarily come forward, but if it's coming from the university, isn't that all going to all be public record? Like, I don't know about individual players, but like how much you spend on each sport, I think that's maybe still up in the air.
Yeah, kind of to your point, right? Because we know how much these coaches make because they're quote unquote employees. But I think it might be different. And again, I'm just having conversation with you, but they're not employees. So I'm not sure if that's going to need to be divulged. But to your point, like, I don't know. I don't know what kind of receipts they're going to have to show as far as how they're doing the money, because they are a public school. That will be something interesting to see moving forward, especially as you start getting, the big one is that state bill that we're still kind of, sitting on the edge of our seats. That's a big one. And so, will they require, receipts? That's something that we'll have to kind of stand by and see how it all plays out.
For those who are not sure what you're talking about, Greg, you're talking about the gambling revenue split.
Yeah, how they're gonna, because they get state will get money, Carolina will get money, and then like the smaller schools will get a chunk of that as well. And so I guess you guys know it better than I do, since you guys live well. Carson, Leighton, and Macon probably know better, and maybe you do, Michael, how that's progressing. Last I heard it was gonna happen, but it just hasn't happened. I mean, can you guys fill me in on where that's at? Any of you?
Last I saw, there was a House proposal and a Senate proposal, and I think they have to come to agreement on it.
Gotcha.
And it was like different money. So this is the tax revenue from gambling being legalized. Now some of that's going to go back to the schools. So I think it was different proposals on how much each school will get, but I think in any scenario, the amount is going to be more than enough to cover that extra revenue sharing for every sport. It'll be more than 20 million or whatever that number is. So it's a big deal.
Yeah. The big thing this kind of reminds me of is so stupid is, I guess everyone's seen Christmas Vacation, where Clark's waiting for his Christmas bonus and because they're trying to build that pool. Like, I think we're waiting for that. We're waiting for this to kind of fall and hope that we're not getting Jelly of the Month Club, because if we get Jelly of the Month Club, we're in real trouble.
Right.
Greg might start like cussing out the whole room.
Well, and it's kind of one of those things where it's like it's kind of like you don't want to get burned one way or the other, where you don't want to move as if that money's coming in, and then the money actually does come in, and then you're like, well, dang, I could have spent more money to help the teams, but then the opposite side, which is you don't want to spend the money and then not happen. So it's definitely you gotta trust Boo and the new chancellor and all that decision making in terms of which way the tea leaves are turning. And it definitely seems like with this whole gambling revenue split bill that it's a matter of more timing than if. So but again, though, if we learned anything in today's day and age, that is you can never put anything in ink anymore. It is all in pencil, and the eraser is sitting right beside that line that you just wrote. So that is definitely the way the world. That is definitely the way the cookie crumbles, as Bruce Almighty says. So So any other final thoughts here about revenue sharing, or jump on over to a new topic here? All right, good deal. So let's jump into, let's just get right into it, Greg. Let's just, what's that? What'd you say, Greg?
No, I said at this point we're just at a wait and see approach with the revenue share.
Oh yeah, 100%. So let's jump on some baseball here, though. Let's finally get right into it here. So Greg, I'll kind of let you run this part of the show, bud. This is your your baby for sure. But I mean, I want to start off by saying, man, Mikey Ryan, that was that was an interesting one for me for sure. I mean, obviously seeing a guy from a school like LSU that just, won a national championship, even though obviously, yes, he wasn't, a star piece per se, but I mean, just, seeing some of his stats, seeing, his resume, seeing, the program that he came from, I can't help but get a little bit excited, especially since this is definitely an area of need for this team next season.
Yeah, for sure. It's gonna. So I don't know how I want to approach this one because you can go from a couple different angles.
Sure.
First off, yes, highly touted. Was ranked pretty well in the MLB draft prospects last year. Actually, was ahead of Ty Head and Fitzgerald, who didn't make it on campus last year, who was a recruit. So now it wasn't far from them. So just kind of think about it in those terms. Didn't, had 5 at-bats at LSU, so really wasn't a factor to your point. Didn't even make the postseason roster. So tempered excitement is where I would be. I know State's been doing this avenue where they've brought some guys in with potential high ceilings the last couple of cycles, like this year and a little bit even last year. So it will be interesting to see if this one plays out. A couple years ago, before that, we were taking established guys. If you go back to like Gino Groover, Pennington, AMAC, these are guys that, had some established numbers where now we're kind of hoping on, okay, will this person develop? And in today's, portal era, we've kind of talked about this. Like, do you want them on their first go around and not play them and then lose them? Or do you want them on the second go around where, okay, now you can kind of pick up the table scraps and then turn them into something. So yeah. I think that's for me, like, he's got a lot of potential. But you also have like an Aiden West that can, potentially make it to campus. So if Aiden West makes it to campus, then what's that look like? Are you playing one at third? Are you bringing someone else in? Because there's still plenty of bats that you need to be bringing in. Last year you brought in like an Austin Fort, and then you came in and brought in a McHugh. So, do we recruit over some of these guys? So still real early in the process in the portal. So I'm kind of like, okay. And then you have the draft coming up in a few weeks. So, are there other positions that we may have to plug? It's kind of a wait and see approach, like I said.
Yeah.
What are your guys' thoughts, I guess, on Ryan?
I mean, I don't have a whole lot. Honestly, I think I was late, and I was surprised to see him there. He plays shortstop, right? So it'll be
that's what he's recruited as, yeah.
Position of need to some degree. I know there were some questions there going in the off season. So I mean, I don't know a whole lot other than, but I thought, oh, that's kind of the guy just won a national championship. Layton's point. That's to the extent of what I know about him. But seems like a talented player.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with baseball, you got to take some of these high upside guys that are willing to come for cheap, just to have options. Because, like you said, it's changed even in the last couple of years, so it's harder to get those proven guys. So I think it's a good pickup, at least for some competition at short.
Yeah, agreed. And that's the other thing. I think you kind of brought up the point. Like, if these guys that are real productive, they're not typically leaving I'll say typically, and we'll probably get into that here in a minute. But they're not normally leaving their current situation. So that there's that. So these guys don't just fall off the tree and go, here's a 20 home run guy. Here's a guy that's, a Gold Glove, if you will. So I get kind of, it's a good sign that we're picking up guys from like Power 4 programs, right? So we got a kid from ACC, we got 2 kids from the SEC. So we're, that's kind of good in that regard. They're staying at the Power 4 level, where, some of these other guys were in Group of Fives. Now, baseball is a lot different with Group of Fives. It's not the same as basketball, where you have these mid majors. Like there's a lot of talent in these programs. You saw where a Murray made a run to the College World Series, Coastal. was in the finals. Like, they would be considered mid-majors in like basketball, but a lot of these programs have really good programs in baseball. And I think because the talent is so spread out, there's guys playing baseball everywhere that are really good. But I do like some of these moves, and we can kind of move on and talk about some of these other guys that have kind of come into the program.
Yeah.
Or left the program.
Well, and I mean, I guess it's up to you if you want to talk about either the other two transfers, or do we want to talk catcher as well? Because obviously catcher, there's a lot to talk about there too.
There was a lot of news in the catcher position. I'll let someone break, or not, it's not really breaking, but bring it up, and then we can kind of just organically get into it.
Carson, so Alex Sosa transferred out.
It's Alex Sosa transferred out. Yeah, no. I mean, Carson, what were your initial thoughts when you saw the notification Alex Sosa was leaving to go to Miami?
Yeah, very mixed feelings about it. With transfers nowadays, it's very much turned into pro sports where it's a lot like free agency. And I mean, I wish Alex best of luck, but he did transfer to a conference opponent, so I don't wish Miami the best of luck.
Nobody wishes Miami the best of luck in anything. So, yeah, no, 100%. I mean, here's my thing with Sosa is that, I mean, he really popped off in some ways last year, 2024. Like, in fact, there was a lot of conversations around, should we have, given him some more run rather than run our star catcher in 2024. I can't think of his name right now. Cozart. Should we have sat Cozart a couple of games to give Sosa a little bit of a run, to give Cozart some rest? And obviously in the Georgia series had a couple, I think 2 big home runs, if I'm not mistaken. I know he had at least one big one late in that game 3. So, I mean, definitely showing some signs of promise for sure. And I mean, I remember even still, Greg, that earlier this season that we were talking about Alex Sosa saying, like, is this a guy that can have a ceiling like Cozart? Is this a guy that's getting into the swing of things? Not making a joke there, but no pun intended. There's the term right there. But I just think that he's a guy that showed a lot of issues in terms of from his defensive stats. And everything kind of supports that. It's from a statistical perspective that just from a defensive perspective, it wasn't his best year. But also too, as well, is that, strikeouts were pretty high for him. It seemed like he was just, definitely kind of a golden ticket or a ticket lit on fire kind of player at times, just not a ton of consistency there. So, all those things being considered is that, assuming, especially with a school like Miami being a part of this. So, and with Miami having a good chunk of change invested in their football and probably a little bit of baseball as well. I mean, with the history that Miami baseball has, I'm not necessarily too upset that we didn't, step up to the plate more. Again, another no pun intended, to keep Sosa around. So that's where I kind of stand on that.
Yeah, from a personal perspective, for me, this one hurts. Just having gotten to know Alex and his family, really good family, and
absolutely,
just that part for me hurts. And then the player, it's themselves. Like, this is a guy who we gave a lot of opportunity to, stuck with him, especially in his freshman year when he struggled coming back from having mono. But then rewarded the program too for their patience, right? Hitting like those big home runs that you were saying in the postseason. But his numbers are just kind of weird, right? He was second on the team in home runs at 10, which not bad number. I mean, 10's a decent number. You would probably would like to see that by about 5 or 7 more. Strikeout percentage was a little high. In fact, led the team in strikeouts. Was pretty like 3rd lowest in walks among regulars. On base percentage, middle top on the team. So he did get on base, but for me, his defensive receiving and framing and throwing out runners was probably a little bit lower than he would probably even like. So like still plenty of room for up. Like I felt like he didn't reach his ceiling, and I thought that he could probably in his junior year, which is his draft eligible year, probably achieve a lot of that. He was probably projecting between a 3rd and 5th round pick at this point. Minus whatever he would do next year. And I know like folks were really high on him. He bypassed the draft when he was coming in. He definitely had the ability to go pro at that point, and came to state. And so all of that being said, definitely wish him well. When he decided to transfer, I immediately said Miami. For me, it was like a no-brainer. It was either Miami or FSU. I figured he would be going back to Florida. Didn't really think about Florida themselves, but I heard they were kind of a player in the mix as well. It really kind of just came down to Miami and Florida, from what I've heard, and he chose Miami, and that's his hometown. I mean, he played Little League in Miami. It doesn't surprise me seeing him and his family interact with folks when they were in Miami. You could tell they were home, and I think he's gonna do okay there. They're gonna give him every opportunity to shine. That's a ball club that was 1 game away from a College World Series. They lost a game 3 to Louisville, so they've got potential to get back in postseason play and do some damage. I just hope it's not against us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no kidding.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, though, Drew Lampier withdrew his name from the transfer portal list and decided to return to NC State. So definitely being a presumptive potential name for the catcher spot. So, I mean, Greg, I mean, do you think that I would not be happy if we settled for Drew Lampier? Let's put it that way. I want options. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and again, this is no disrespect to either Drew or the analogy I'm getting ready to make, but to me, he's the same. He's the catcher version of Matt Hevner. Really good, solid defensive player. Isn't going like. I also think Drew can take a step here too. So I want to preface that. Like he had very limited at bats.
Yeah.
So it's not exactly fair to be like, okay, it's an automatic downgrade. I think defensively it is an upgrade. Not massive, but it is an upgrade defensively. And I think at a position at playing catcher, you're almost okay with them being a better defensive player than offensive player just because of how important that position is. You want to, receive the ball, get your pitcher strikes, you want to be able to throw out guys, you want to be able to block balls, those types of things. Sure. Drew Lampier only had 1 home run, but it was a pretty big one last year. That grand slam against UVA that got us back in the game. But he's a guy that gets on base. Like you look at his average was not really that good. It was I have it right here. Give me a second.
His on base?
Well, his on base was decent, but his batting average
217.
217, but his there it is right there. But his on base was 383, which is not bad. I mean, that's he got walked a decent amount. Didn't strike out a lot either. In 83, plate appearances, he only struck out 13 times. So again, strikeout rate's pretty good. You definitely got to need a little bit more offensive numbers. So long-winded, I think we have DeCarlo coming in. Hopefully, he doesn't get drafted. He makes it to campus. And then you have Preston Bond, who was completely redshirted last year. So we have no idea, what he can really do, though he was a recruit from Georgia and we were able to flip him. So
pretty good get.
So with that being said, you had to go out and get somebody after Sosa left. You had no one on your roster, if you had just DeCarlo and Bond that's ever played a college game. And at least Lampier gives you something. So if you don't find someone, you can at least potentially roll in with Lampier and then see what the other 2 guys go and do.
Yeah. Preacher Man saying, can we get the Trey Turner College Rodon black jerseys back with the state across the chest with the new black hats? Listen, I am definitely all for the more black uniforms, the better. So, especially in baseball, there's been some pretty, especially too, like during the Rodon and Turner years, there were some pretty great alternate uniforms there that need to make a return. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Carson, do you have a favorite in particular you can think of that you wish could make a return?
Out of the Blacks or just
In general, from the Rodon, Turner, or just a alternate jersey you can think of that you wish could make a return?
Not really any specific at the moment. My personal favorite's always been the camo one that we wear. I like that one.
Yeah, camo is always sick.
I like the vests.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the vest.
Gray vest.
Yeah,
the classic. That's the one I think of. Trey Turner, and then that's the kind of jersey I think of.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the old school vests. Yeah, they've brought a few back. The one that I wanted to see come back is just the solid. Did anyone see where Ray Tanner was going into the Hall of Fame? Did anyone see that photo?
No.
Oh no.
Yeah, so he's going into the I can't remember which Hall of Fame it was, but he had the old school just S, kind of like what's on the helmet over here,
right.
And then the state cursive, like that's a classic clean look. Like I wish we would do a true throwback. I know Texas A&M has done it before. A couple of the Adidas schools.
They call that script.
The script.
Yeah, but not the current script. The current script is good, but it's like a older script. But yeah, to your point. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So again, definitely will be interesting to see what jerseys come around this upcoming season for sure. But two other guys, Collins Black, both pitchers. Collins Black from Duke, formerly Cary High School guy, and then Ryder Garino from South Carolina. Michael, do either of these guys kind of excite you particularly?
I think they're both kind of falling into the same bucket as a little bit, good profiles, but don't have a lot of proven production. I think I like Collins Black a little bit more. I like his stuff a little bit more. I think he could be a bigger piece next year because you're pretty much rebuilding the whole bullpen. So it's kind of up in the air for the bullpen. So these guys have a real shot.
But all this being said, though, y'all, again, keep in mind that the crazy part is that we still have not heard really much regarding what's going on with Avent either, which is, obviously, it would be hard pressed to say that he would be getting commits right now, that we would be getting commits right now to a team that has no head coach, which so obviously maybe something privately behind the scenes has been figured out that just has not been publicly released yet. I don't know. That this is a complete mystery for me really here.
I think I feel like it would have came out by now.
I've heard he's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. All right. Well, there you go.
But to Michael's point, like let's not like just glaze over the fact that we literally are rebuilding our whole bullpen. We are only bringing back one person as of now. Like things could maybe change a little bit with the draft, but
for the bullpen,
because
your best guys are moving to the rotation. So
right,
Duden and Nance will move to the starting rotation, and so the only person you're bringing back is Tristan Potts.
Crazy, and he was only like lefty,
pretty much, Though he got a little bit more action towards the end, but for the most part, he was a lefty specialist.
Yeah,
crazy.
And then you have Cooper. You have Coop, like
So it's just you need him to get back to what he was looking like freshman year.
But ideally you would like to, and I say you're bringing him back. Ideally, you would like for him to be at a minimum your midweek starter. Like I know you can bring him in back in on bullpen on the back half of the weekend. So I didn't want to discount his name, but ideally you want to start him.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. I always kind of think about it more when you get to the postseason because you don't have those midweek games. So he's not going to be. He's going to be a bullpen guy when it comes to postseason, especially. Yeah. Right. If he's good enough to be your midweek starter, then he's probably good enough to give you some innings in the postseason.
Yeah, especially if you need a long relief guy to save some other arms. Yeah, and then other baseball news. We flipped a guy today. Last name Hitchens. I don't know if you recognize
Yeah.
that name. That is
Jeez.
Mr. Kitchens' son.
That's
I know.
awesome.
I know he's a favorite of Leighton and Macon's personally.
Des
Yeah,
Kitchings is the
But yeah,
man.
Des Kitchens, you guys love him.
Yeah.
He
One
was
of the
recruiting
greatest.
guy for me, so that's why. So
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the best recruiters and one of the best running backs coaches for sure, but not really one of the better offensive coordinators. So
Yeah.
But
So yeah, he was committed. His name is Aiden, I believe. Another Aiden.
Love it.
He was committed to Missouri, so we flipped him.
Sick.
Don't really, I don't know. Missouri could have probably used them. They were pretty bad in baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I was gonna say
yeah.
they didn't have baseball. I don't know.
No, they do. They were really bad.
Never
They
seen them
were
on
really
TV.
No, they're like the only SEC team that's not good.
other than South Carolina. South Carolina was pretty bad this
Yeah.
year.
But like South Carolina,
Yeah.
they'll be good again in 2 years.
Yeah.
Like Missouri might be bad forever.
Pretty much.
Well, if South Carolina could get out of their own way and actually hire somebody,
Yeah.
with some aptitude, so
But one of the things I kind of wanted to just mention is like I am curious because we talked about it a little bit earlier with the NIL and rev share and all of that. It's basically up to their coaches are going to get a pot of money, and whatever they do with that money is what they do with it. And one of the things that they can do with it is fund scholarships. And so I'm genuinely curious as to how state's going to approach this. If anyone follows baseball, you know that Pollard went from Duke to UVA. And they're going to have 25 scholarships that they're going to fund, right? So before it was 11.7 that you could fund. Now you can technically fund your whole roster, which, by the way, is reducing from 40 to 34. But every scholarship you use is less money you can use for like NIL and stuff. So it's going to be real important. And I'm curious to see how it's managed, like, because if I'm coming into your school, like what is my priority? Because it's all money at the end of the day. But would you rather not pay for your education and take a scholarship, or get the money and then pay for your tuition and board and all that? So I'm really curious to see how that's gonna play out. And so if we get 25, and I think 25 is going to be pretty standard across the board for a lot of schools. I know ECU is doing 25 as well, because at the end of the day, you have 34 guys on your roster, but you're not using all 34 of those guys. I mean, I think State used about 28, I think, last year total between pitchers and position players. So you don't really need to fund those last 8 to 9 positions. So to me, it would make more sense to apply that to NIL and other things, but something to keep an eye on moving forward.
And your postseason roster gets smaller right now. I don't know if that's still in effect now with the new rules, but
yeah, I would think, because I think it's 30, right? I think the postseason is 30, 28, 30, something like that.
Right. So that kind of goes along the same way as like, are you going to pay guys that you can't even bring in the postseason?
Right.
So.
Right. I think you'll see I think you'll see 25 full scholarships, and maybe you go like some partials in there with that 25 or something like that. I don't know. Again, these coaches will have the ability to, and I think it'll be fluid too from year to year. Like some years you may want to have to, bump and go
depending on the roster. Yeah.
Depending on the roster. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Preacher Man saying that through Perfect Game almost lists him as a first and third base. The younger Kitchings bread and butter is a mid 90s fastball, which tops out around 97 on the mound, which I mean, definitely
pretty good.
Pretty good. I was gonna say,
but his run splits were not good. So I have a feeling he's going to end up at pitcher, especially considering we need pitching. I would think that would be his first look.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, any other final thoughts here, Greg, on baseball before we jump on over some football?
Nope. Just wait and see. Again, we got a lot of portal arms that we gotta replace, and then the one thing is like, do we go after a bat? That's my next thing is we hit, and I posted this on Twitter or X or whatever. We hit 72 home runs last year as a team. We lost 30 of those home runs.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
that's wild.
So either got to have the guys step up.
Yeah. I think it's definitely, you're definitely going to add at least another one or two more I guess it also depends on the draft, who you lose to the draft, and then
Right.
if you add
Sure.
more after that. But
Yep.
I think it should be interesting where they add them, what positions they kind of go after.
Yeah, there was some weird stuff on like. Anyway, I won't take the whole podcast, but if you like baseball, follow these guys on Instagram. There's some fun stuff that kind of pops up here and there, and like there was maybe rumors that McHugh might be moving to the outfield. I don't know if these guys were just joking around in the chat with each other, but there was some conversations there, and yeah, you're gonna have to figure out where you're gonna put some of these guys, especially the guy like Novi.
Yep.
Maybe McHugh does move to the outfield and you put Novi at first, and then either West or Ryan at short and third.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
It'll be fun to follow.
For sure. So, and even more fun to follow is that we are 59 days away from in-state versus ECU. And specifically, so bringing this, so I figured actually here before we kind of talk about, most important game, biggest game, most, whatever that may be here on the schedule. I want to do something fun here a little bit. So it hasn't been announced yet, the themes for each of these games already.
Yeah, it has.
Some of them have,
Has
yeah.
it? Oh,
Yeah.
some of
Yeah.
them?
If you look on the Go Pack app, they're all there.
They're all there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
Net
All
room
right.
Slayton's
Thanks,
plan
Carson.
for
You're
this
the man. You're not invited back next week.
We have to be reputable, sir. We are not.
Oh, forget that. We're just state fans,
Watch
okay?
your mouth, Leighton.
You watch your mouth. Yeah.
We're not the
All right,
channel
we'll
of
forget that.
disinformation here.
So getting right. So I guess then we'll just jump right to it. Then who needs fun?
He doesn't know where to pivot.
Subject.
What do I do now? What do I do with my hands?
So obviously, one of the big things right now, looking at the schedule and talking about football here is, again, I still am sitting here just kind of a little bit of a shrug of the shoulders, a little bit, being like, there's so many different things that there's so many questions that have to be answered, about this team. Obviously my biggest question is around defensive coordinator and how the defense is going to look.
Mhm.
New style, new playbook, a lot of new players, new positions. So it's going to be a little bit of, let's see what happens kind of game. But I want to kind of, get everybody's thought in terms of what is the most pivotal, most important, like the season could shift one way or another depending on this game. What game would you kind of circle on this list as being defined?
Good
Well,
question.
but
ECU.
Hang
No,
on,
it's a good
I'm
question.
Well,
the
and
very first one.
I'm
But
dead
here's the
serious
thing.
too.
Well, and again, here's the thing though, is that I think we all agree on that, but yet a lot of people are saying, well, the Duke game at Duke.
I think it is. Duke game is. I mean,
That's
Yeah.
my answer. And so I think the ECU game feels like we need that game to almost like wrap up
Cannot
last
lose
season
that
again,
not lose that.
and like then this season starts with Virginia. It almost feels like it's not part of the season. It's like its own
Right.
standalone game kind of thing to get revenge, and then
Yep,
we
but-
go into next season.
I can
And-
tell you that. I can tell you this though: if we lose to ECU, we are not beating Wick and Duke.
Well, I think the fans.
I don't know.
I
think
I do not. I mean, I said this last time it was a lot of fluky things had to happen for us to lose to ECU. I do not think we do that. But having said that, knock on wood, I got wood here. That Duke game is big. The other two games to me that are like litmus tests. I think that at Duke game is a pretty good litmus test for this season.
sure.
But that Georgia Tech Miami, one of those two games, I kind of want to say Georgia Tech at home is
Georgia
a good
Tech,
one
yeah.
because Georgia Tech is kind of on the come up right now, and Brent Key's done a really good job with Tech. On the road, Miami is playing on the road is always a tough thing, but having Georgia Tech at home, I feel like should be a pretty good. If you can get that win, I feel like you're probably in a good spot. But that's so later on in the season to know.
Right.
I mean, to me,
you never
ECU
know how
ECU
it shakes out, right? They could stink
Right.
by the
It's
time
so
we play
late.
them. It's like, yeah.
I think that Duke game, you point. I can tell you what too. I don't know what Virginia Tech's roster is. That could be a little sneaky.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Duke game's probably the one I would pick on the road because we got embarrassed last time we were there. You kind of want to make it right, and I don't know. That's my thought.
Yeah,
I agree. I think if we win on the road at Duke, I think there's a good chance you could be looking at 5-1 or 6-0 going to Notre Dame, because I think that Duke game and Virginia Tech game are probably your two toughest ones. I mean, obviously East Carolina, but again, on paper we should still win that game, just like on paper we should have won the bowl game. But you know,
well,
I agree. The Duke game's big.
I think it's Duke too. You've lost 4 of the last 5 meetings against them.
Wow.
And the game you won is when Devin Leary broke his leg.
Yeah. Well, and here's my thing too, is like it almost seems like a must that we start off the season 5-1 or 6-0. Like, because I'm almost sitting here saying, like, if we were 4-2 in the first 6 games, I'd be like, well, who are the 2 losses to? Because whoever the 2 losses to are probably pretty disgusting. I mean, Wake Forest and Duke.
You should not lose to ECU, Virginia, or Wake Forest. I mean, you should not. Campbell, that's not happening.
Yeah.
So,
right. So, but still losing to Duke at Duke and then Virginia Tech, it's like, okay, those are not terrible. Like, those are not like disgusting losses, but those are not losses I can.
We're probably in for another
should be
6-6 season if we start 4-2.
Brent Pry, Virginia Tech, I think he's like he's fine.
He's
like
coaching for his job.
Raleigh, and I'll be at that game. Right now, my wife's alma mater there. I'll be at that game. If they come in Raleigh and we lose to Brent Pry, I'll be like, I don't think that'll be a good look personally. I mean, Virginia Tech has got a good culture, but I don't think it'll be a good look because they haven't done anything lately. I mean, they had Bashaw Tootin get drafted to the Jaguars, but that's about it. And
they have like 2 winning seasons that are last like 8 years. Like,
and I know like Duke also isn't there? They have a new. Is it Malik Murphy their quarterback this season?
No, he left.
No, he was last year.
He was last. Who's their
They brought
quarterback?
it was kind of a name.
Mensa
South Alabama
from Tulane.
Tulane. Right. Yeah, he was the big one.
Oh yeah, they paid that guy like a ton of money to come to Duke too. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
it was like the biggest. I can't remember. It was a huge deal they paid.
I think they were early where they were already factoring in rev share. I think they paid him $4 million for 2 years, which with rev share is not that much.
Yeah, I heard whoever runs their fundraising at Duke, the guy went over to Duke's largest booster and covered up the sports when he passed over the check and signed in and was like, "You thought it was for men's basketball? It's for football." And the guy was like, "What?" So like Duke paying that much money for a football player, like I'm sure a lot of Duke
they've
fans
definitely gotten more serious about football in the last 3-4 years.
But
we should
Manny Diaz will do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, even before that, when you had Elko, like he really was the beginning of turning it around.
Absolutely.
But looking at the schedule, you should be favored in 5 of the first 6 games.
I just thought of something. Doran is 0-3 against Manny Diaz.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, he needs to get out. He needs to get that win. I mean, that to me, I don't know if it's a must win, but it's like you want that one. You want that one. And
especially too, because again, it's going to be a very majority NC State fan crowd. Very majority.
It was last time in the rain we were there.
Yeah, and something has to change with the way that Doran approaches this game. I think he needs to approach it the same way that he
this game.
Like with because the last
with you, Carson.
He needs to approach this game the same way that he does with Carolina, because the last 2 times that we've played Duke, I have not seen us give a lot of energy and with regards to pride and passion that we do with other teams like Carolina. Like with the game where we lost by 20 2 years ago, like Peyton Wilson was the only guy given any effort.
Sometimes I wonder if that's kind of the same way maybe UNC basketball looked at NC State basketball, and over the years it's kind of like whatever. And I hate that because I know they talk a lot of trash too. But to your point, Carson, we need to make sure we get that win, and it needs to be done. But I think going on to the other 2 matches we were talking about, Michael was talking about earlier too, was I think that Georgia Tech and the Georgia Miami games will shape how your season is viewed. To your point earlier, also, you should be maybe 5-1, 6-1 somewhere in the season, and then you're probably losing Notre Dame. You're at Pitt. Are we even talking about the Pittsburgh game? Pittsburgh, you should win that game too. But it's
tough.
on the road. It's on the road at Pitt, so you never know. The
Mhm.
Miami game, Miami has been paying a lot of players to come play there, right? And so I know we had Kamal Bonner went to Miami, right? So,
Alex Sosa.
so yeah.
Well,
Let's go back to baseball.
Well, and I mean one
Let it go, Michael.
well, yeah. Well,
hey, we got Matt Abel, so it's okay.
there we
That's
go.
true.
I'll take Matt Abel. I
Was
love
he
it.
committed at Miami?
He's a train.
He had
Mhm.
previously been in Miami.
Yeah.
He did. Yep.
Before Jim Larinaga.
That might be the
so.
best. Oh, see, that might be the best out of the two. Like,
Yeah.
again,
Oh.
no disrespect to any of the aforementioned names, but those two, I don't even know if that equals Matt Abel.
No.
If this was a dynasty football trade, Layton, would you make that trade?
I'll totally take Matt Abel's side all day.
Matt Abel
Yeah.
or Alex Sosa
That's
and who's the other guy we said?
Listen,
Kamal Bonner.
Kamal Bonner. And an equipment manager to be named
plus
later.
a 2025
Listen, there is not a world where Matt is not your third best player on the team. I mean that.
Man,
that-
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure for a freshman.
We went from
Yeah.
football to baseball to basketball.
Well, you brought it up. Hey, well, hey,
This whiplash I've had.
I brought it up.
that's true. That's true. Anyway, getting back to it. The one thing though, which I do want to point out is that, I mean, from a scheduling perspective, let's put it this way. Dorn, when he saw the schedule, didn't pull him back around and go, we got screwed. It really worked out well. I mean, that three. So, I mean, of the top four teams that have the best odds to win the ACC, we only play one of them, and that's Miami. But you're not playing Clemson, you're not playing Louisville, and you're not playing
SMU.
SMU.
Or,
Yep,
yeah.
you're not playing SMU.
And,
So
even more on that, you have bye weeks before your trip to Pitt and your trip to Miami. You get Campbell the week before Notre Dame, and then like all your quote unquote easier games are in your first 6 games. So you have an opportunity to build some momentum early in the season, like we were talking about. If you can start 5-1, 6-0, like I know the back half is really tough, but you've built up that momentum. So it sets up about as well as you could really hope for, given the teams we're playing.
Before Miami as well is big.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. We'll take this conversation just somewhere different for a minute, just to have a little fun.
oh boy.
The
We can't have fun
Notre
on the podcast, Greg.
I know.
Carson, shut that down. No fun.
We're not Miami softball now.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
So I was at the NIL event a few weeks ago, and they auctioned off a couple of flyaway trips with the team. So you got to fly with the team, got the whole VIP treatment. One of them was Notre Dame. If you had an endless pocket of money and you could bid on that trip, what would be your max bid on that? Like, what would you be willing to pay?
So here, let's do prices right. Let's do prices right. So let's do.
Wait, what was the full price?
I've been there.
Yeah, so the full prize was you flew on the team charter, the hotel accommodations, passes, everything. Everything is covered for that trip.
Okay.
Which keep in mind, it's for one night. It's not.
Correct. You fly up
One night.
You fly up Friday, and then come home Saturday after the game.
Yep. So
Are we trying to guess what the winning bid was, or what we would bid?
How about you each say what you would be willing to pay, and then I'll give you the winning bid.
Okay.
How about that?
$1.
$1. Assuming, like you said, Greg, we had endless money, so it's not what we would pay.
Go ahead, endless money. I mean, then I'd pay whatever it takes me to do it.
By the way, I won one of these experiences, and I'll tell you what. Not Notre Dame.
Okay, I was
Notre
gonna say,
Dame
I'm
was-
sure that one went
Notre
for
Dame was
quite
out of
quite
my-
the penny.
I wanna-
jet with the team.
Yeah, stay at the team hotel, go eat with them, travel on the bus, like all
a
that
hotel, and it's probably a nice hotel. Is it like it's like a holiday nice hotel?
two
I'm gonna
spots.
say $500 for the nice hotel. I'm gonna say something like that. I'm gonna say the plane ticket's probably
Man, Macon's breaking it down.
$1,000.
How much are you willing to pay for this? Are you giving me the retail value or the
All
experience value?
$2.
I'll go.
Remember, it's for NIL.
I'll go
and it was an
3,000.
auction. How much?
3,000.
Okay,
I
that's how
was
much
to
you
say
would be willing to pay.
4,500.
If I had
Yeah,
no money, and I really wanted to go do the experience, knowing that we're going to probably get our butts kicked, man, I probably would say about $3,000. Whoever said $3,000.
Okay. So let me chime in. My experience wasn't even partial to this, and my experience was $3,000.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, so I'm probably closer.
Yep. Carson, you got a final guess?
I'm gonna go 3,500.
Say $3,000, $3,001.
Greg, what was it, bud?
The winning bid was $15,000.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
wow.
Did that get like
At
bid
that
up?
point,
Was
it's
it
not
like
even about the
competitive?
game.
It got bid up a lot.
Yeah.
It's not even about the game anymore. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You said that-
I got an experience where I get to have the night before the game, I get to have a dinner with the team, and then get a full sideline, like going through the tunnel, all that stuff, sideline passes for the game against UVA, and mine was $3,000.
Nice.
So that would being said, we'll do it one more time. They did another experience to Pittsburgh. What do you think that one went for, knowing that Notre Dame went for 15?
I'll go.
I'm gonna say $1,500. Oh no, sorry, Sean. Sorry, I'm back.
Dang.
I'm thinking of my guess what I would pay for it. It was
And
$1,500.
again, remember, mine was 3,000, and I'm not even traveling with the
I'll
team.
say 8,000.
7,500.
One.
Yeah. No, I'll go 9.
Yeah, I'm 99% sure it was $8,000. It might have been.
Oh.
It's either 7 or 8,000, but I think it was 8. Yeah,
Nailed it.
Wow. Yep.
Yeah.
I believe
So-
that.
yeah,
What
but it was
the-
great.
Good. Raising money.
Raising
what was
money.
the UNC game experience?
They hadn't have anything, which is
They-
wild. Like you would have thought that
Really?
they
Wow.
maybe because it's a rivalry like that, and I don't know.
ECU or
Though,
UNC?
hold on. Okay, one more, and we'll move on to something else, and we
What's
can wrap
Campbell's?
or whatever. Hold on. There was an experience where you get to call a play.
Oh yeah, I remember this one. Yeah.
A single play.
You get to call the play, and you get to call when they call the play.
Oh really?
That is insane. Actually,
Yeah,
that is
you-
literally
Like,
insane.
they call, we're gonna run the make him, basically.
You could
I
call
like
the
it.
play whatever you wanted to call it. You can
Again.
tell it what you want to do. If you wanted a flea flicker, double pass, reverse,
I'm gonna say just
Statue of Liberty, whatever
way.
you wanted to make that play,
We're gonna
and then you
switch
could tell
pick
them-
right now.
and then you could tell them when to run the play.
Hold on.
What? What
If-
game?
I was gonna
Any
say if
game
this
you
is not
wanted, any game,
At any
Imagine-
moment, at any
at
moment.
any moment.
Oh
No
my
way.
god. Any game. So if it's like UNC
oh man.
Dorn's got to veto.
line
power, I
play,
feel like.
and you
There's a
call
lot
it,
of
you're like, hello, Doran. And he's like, oh no, I
Oh,
can't.
no.
I paid a lot of money, man.
So here's the thing. I tried to get my table to go in on this because think about it this way. You could gamble on that for a prop bet and say, hey,
Oh.
like first play against ECU is going to be a run. And then you could put your mortgage on it.
Well, now you can't do it. You just broadcast our plan
Well,
live.
that's, I'm like, people were probably smarter than that. They probably already thought of that. What do you think that went for?
Crazy.
A lot. That has to be a good.
I'm gonna
bit,
say
man.
$15,000, just like you said earlier, Greg.
Yeah, I'm thinking like
I'm gonna just go with the number you said. I thought the Notre Dame is more reasonable for that whole experience.
because here's my thing. This isn't calling a play at a spring game. This isn't calling a play
Right.
against Campbell. This is calling a play versus
Anytime. any
Carolina.
Notre Dame.
Florida State.
Yeah.
No,
Nice.
I would save that up for a big moment against
game.
you.
How do they get that in though? If
Oh,
it's any
that's
time.
gonna be in the
Do you get a
I
contract.
think
headset?
no. You would tell them like in a month, like, hey, I want to run this play. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
it's way,
come on.
it's way
That's not
predetermined.
fun. Boo.
Well, I mean,
You
they're
should
not
get
going to give you a headset and go,
A
okay,
headset
all right.
every game.
Hey,
yeah.
like, hey, CJ,
Every
you hear?
game.
This is
Hold
Greg
on.
on the
Coach,
headset.
I'm just going to tell you, first play at the Carolina game, we're running a Hail Mary.
I don't know.
No.
5,000.
We're going to go all out
No.
blitz, first play at the game. I don't even care.
No,
No,
first,
it's going to be that It's going to be like the UConn game where Devin Leary throws to Thayer Thomas.
Yeah.
Something cray,
Got
right?
one of those.
No. What it's going to be in honor of Matt Canada is we're going to do a jet sweep and then halfback dive up the middle. So in honor of Matt Canada,
We're gonna line up. We're gonna line up bigs and then run the ball, whatever one we like to
Exactly.
run.
Yeah.
Some kind of jet
O
sweep.
line touchdown.
but
Yeah.
no.
Big guy
So yeah,
touchdown.
I'm saying like 12,000.
Okay,
I said 5,000, but I don't know.
Carson, what do you think?
I'm going to go 11,000.
Yeah, it's $10,000.
Ooh. I totally believe that. Here's my thing too. Like if I can add an idea, I know this. I mean, like, hey, listen, I never thought in a million years that would be something. So like I would have never thought what I'm about to say would be something. But now that I've heard that, I'm like, well, maybe this might be something. But I'm saying this as being a former football equipment manager. I won't necessarily say like on air examples, but I'll say like having a coach headset for a game that you can't talk into, but that you can just listen to for a game. That would be
Cool.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, that would be worth every dollar you pay.
Well, that's kind of like
That'd be blast.
I agree, Leighton, and they should sell that. And that's something that would be super easy to do because you're like you don't get to do anything, you just get to listen. That would be that's kind of like going to a NASCAR race and you can hear the pit crew talk to the drivers and the spotters.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
that adds so much to that whole NASCAR experience. Imagine a football game. Imagine hearing like Doran like cuss out Roper, like, what the heck are you doing? And like,
Yeah.
or like,
I thought one.
or
I
whatever.
thought one that would be kind of cool. You get to be the alpha starter, the alpha wolf for the game. Like that would be
Yeah.
pretty cool. One. Now they would, I would want to have someone famous, like
With
you know,
him.
Yeah, do it with you.
yeah. But I think that would be kind of a cool experience
Or
that you
her.
could auction off. I bet you would make, dude. If you're auctioning off a play for 10, you could probably get $5,000 to $7,000 easy to be alpha wolf.
Oh,
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Well, and that's another one. So what's the wish list this year, y'all, on the Alpha Wolf starters? Who's on the wish list this year?
I'd have to go back and look at who's already done it the last couple of years.
Debbie Antonelli. She could do it though.
Gee, yeah. Oh,
She
she
could.
can.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't. I can't remember.
Well, has DJ Burns done it? Has he done
Yeah,
it?
he
I was
did
gonna
it.
say.
did it.
Okay,
He did it.
He would
He
be.
did it last
he
year.
would be number one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I mean, and Naeem Hines has done it, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
Has Chubb done it?
Yes.
Chubb done it?
Chubb did it.
Chubb did it.
Yep.
Peyton
Chubb
did it.
Peyton did it. Yeah.
Well,
so-
what about Phillip? He's never done it.
Yeah. Phillip
Yeah,
Rivers, yeah.
You got to get him here first.
yeah. Well, you got to get his son here first and foremost. So
There you
Russ?
go.
How cool? How cool
Russ-
would that be? He does his announcement.
Did the Giants come down to Carolina this year?
Where are you going with this?
I don't think so.
Russell.
Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Uh-huh.
Maybe.
Giants now.
Yeah.
I don't think the Giants come to Charlotte this year
I'm
though.
gonna just double check.
Unfortunately,
Amato.
Preacher Man Chuck Amato is no health, unfortunately, to
Nope.
do it. Even though that would be
Yeah.
sick, but no.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Mark
Yeah.
Yeah.
Godfrey.
Did you say Mark
Will
Godfrey?
Wade.
Dude, I had Mark Godfrey follow me on Instagram.
I mean, what's he? I mean, I don't think he's busy these days. So
Yeah.
Will
Yeah,
Wade
Will Wade.
probably
Will
did
Wade.
do
Yeah,
Will
that's
Wade.
Will Wade. Yeah.
if he's not honestly the,
I mean, since we're a basketball school, that makes sense.
Yeah.
if he's not honestly the first one against ECU, I'm honestly questioning a little bit.
I don't know if you want him the first game though.
Why not,
What if
dude?
the
He would get hyped.
Because
I need to have the original super fan, Greg. What's the guy's you met with to talk with him?
Oh, Chris.
Chris. Yeah, what would be
Yeah.
Chris? It'd be kind of funny to do him.
no.
Nobody would know who the heck.
Mario
he was.
Williams. Would he come back and do it? Mario
Yeah,
Williams.
Mario would be good.
Mm-hmm.
First
He
ACC
could.
player ever to be drafted number 1 overall.
Still the only defensive ACC
Correct.
player.
Yeah, because Jameis went first.
Correct. So,
Yeah.
AKA, we're maybe
Jameis
scraping.
Williams to come. Jameis Winston to come. That'd be pretty funny.
Especially at the Florida State game.
He's like, man, I don't even go here, but this is awesome.
Crab legs, buy one, get them all free.
I got
We ain't
crab
leaving
legs for you
without a
guys.
victory. Ooh. See,
Uh,
thank goodness for Preacher
yeah.
Man. Look at that. Jermaine
Yeah.
Pratt, BJ Hill.
Yeah.
There we go.
Where
I like
did
it.
Pratt end up? Vegas, right?
Vegas.
Yeah, he signed with the Raiders. Yeah.
Do they have? Do they come play Carolina at all? I mean, these guys could do it in their bye week if it lines up.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
you
they're-
could
and they're-
get the highest paid punter to do it.
Yeah, AJ Cole.
Mm.
That'd be good. Hey, worst comes worst, you can always get Scottie McCreery to do it again, and then everybody would love
Yeah,
it.
you don't
So,
really want to. You don't really want to repeat.
He's the guy
not
from
real well.
No.
American, the guy American Aquarium. He's a pretty big.
Oh yeah,
statement.
BJ Barnum. Is that
Yeah, I
his
bet
name?
he would
BJ Barnum.
love.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be
I
pretty
know he
good.
would.
Yeah, there's some.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still some. Ooh, John Tesh.
Hey, why don't you get Trey Turner, Rodon to come back and do it? Wouldn't they do
Yeah.
it?
Hopefully, they're playing in the playoffs.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say, hopefully they're busy.
That'll be a November game if they do it.
Yeah, but they can still come and do it.
Yeah, they could.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
there's still a few that you can, I mean, you could even get
Squeak out.
some of the really old ones. Like you could get like David Thompson.
Jericho Cotchery.
Jericho Cotchery. I met him at the thing. He was super
At the
nice.
event?
Yeah, super nice guy.
What
Yes.
and
Was Chuck Amato in there? Was it you?
Yeah, he's
Well, yeah.
not gonna be.
but I mean, so to wrap it up though, here, Greg, I want to hear you got a good story from the event. That you
No,
wanna share?
there was some stories told that can never be repeated outside of those walls.
Oh, I like it.
No,
Good.
I did talk to Chubb. I showed him a picture, the Pittsburgh game when he messed his finger up. Like, I don't know if you guys remember
Yeah.
that. Like he
Got
busted it
dislocated.
up. Yeah, he says that he's engaged to be married, and he told his wife that he can't put a ring on that finger. It's still to this day just completely jacked up. So we kind of had a fun story about that. Peyton was talking about stadium smelling like weed in the NFL. That was kind of funny.
Dang.
He said Denver absolutely stinks
I was
when
gonna
they
say
go
it
to
was probably
play.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and he said Denver and Georgia were the two stinkiest stadiums that he ever played at.
Wow.
Yeah, so we just some fun stories.
Fun stories.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was a really good event. They raised a lot of money, and it's good seeing a lot of the older players come back and being embraced. You had big name guys, and you even had guys like Trenton Gill that was there. Nothing again. Trenton Gill's a great guy, but it didn't matter who you were. If you ever played there, you were welcome back to that. So I really liked that feature. And then you had you only had one current guy there, which was kind of weird, and that was Sean Brown. Maybe would have thought you would have seen a few more, but yeah, it's a great event. We
Last year was
sit,
a lot.
Yeah, we got to sit with DJ Elliott. He sat at our table, and so he was.
Oh, new DC. Yeah, that's cool.
Yep. So he was really cool to talk to and share some stories, and yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah.
All right. Carson, Michael, make any final thoughts here, y'all?
Nope. Happy July 4th, everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Happy
Greatest
July
country in
4th.
the world.
Happy 200 and almost 50th birthday, 249.
I love
Greatest
it.
country in the world.
Ooh, close. Yeah.
Close.
That's
yeah.
a big one. All right, Wolfpack Nation. So really appreciate everybody tuning in with us as always. Glad to be finally back alive and talking all things NC State. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Really appreciate that. Also, make sure to give us a follow. Tuffy Talk Now, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And with that being said, we appreciate y'all. Y'all are the best. And hey, 59 days to football. Let's keep it going. We'll see y'all soon. As always, go Pack, y'all.
That's the best.